Hello, everybody. This is the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards, and this is the panel for the short script. We have with us right now one, two, three, four, five script writers that are going to share their experience, their stories, how they became script writers. And without further ado, let's dive right in. Welcome, Phil, Warren, Samantha, Edward, and Madison. How are you doing, guys?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Excellent.
Great.
Very nice to have you for this fourth edition of the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards. And I'm just going to start to say one word to Warren because we know each other already. You've been selected, it was in 2018 to the Paris Art and Movie Awards, correct?
It was last year, actually, 2020.
2020. Okay.
Yes, last
Cool.
year.
Excellent. So you may know that, guys, but the Paris Art and Movie Awards is one of the biggest film festival in Paris, France, and this is the festival we created 10 years ago. And the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards, you all guys are selected for this year, is kind of the small brother of the Paris Festival we created 4 years ago. And we have sometimes some writers, some filmmakers, just like Warren, who have been selected to one festival and then come back to another or come back to the same festival. And it's always a pleasure to see some friendly faces back with us. We're going to start with the girls. We're going to start with Madison. Can you tell us, Madison, a little bit of who you are, maybe where are you, city, state, and give us a little bit of information about you?
Well, currently I am in Southeast Michigan right now. I just graduated from college with a filmmaking degree. I'm going to be relocating to Chicago very soon. And I love writing stories about my life or stories of people that I think don't get to be heard as often. So that's what I try to do.
Okay, I like it. Samantha, what about you? Where are you, city, state, and how did you become a scriptwriter?
Yeah, so I'm currently in Denver, Colorado, but I'm based in New York City. I've lived there for about 5 years. And I got into script writing when I went to acting school. I did a minor in filmmaking, and I just kind of fell in love with the world of film. And through that, I discovered that I love to write. And like Madison, I really enjoy writing about underrepresented groups or topics. And just kind of speaking from my heart. So,
Okay, Phil, you're next.
Yeah, my name is Phil Hollins. I think we all do the same thing as far as kind of looking at other mirrors on it. And
Phil, you are breaking up. We don't really hear what you say. I'm going to go to Edward, and if you can try to disconnect and reconnect your mic, that would be cool. That would be cool.
Hey, how's it going, guys? I am in Denver, Colorado. So Samantha, you're in Denver too, it sounds like. But I was in South Texas for the last 10 years, where I was working to build a Hispanic serving film program in South Texas. But now I teach screenwriting at the University of Colorado, Denver. I'm originally from North Carolina, and I've been working in film for 20 years, I guess, and just really love visual storytelling and screenwriting.
As a writer, or you've been working in films as what position?
Primarily as a writer, but also as a documentary filmmaker. So I tend to write scripts and then produce documentaries. So I usually have both of those things happening simultaneously.
Okay. Phil, can you hear me? Phil, can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you, but it's broken.
But it's breaking up when you're trying to.
I'm trying to put it into my phone and see if I can do it that
Okay.
way.
Get you. It's going to be the four of us for this moment, and we're going to get back to Phil and Warren a little bit later. What made you decide in the first place as script writers to try and submit your script to film festivals? Because it's easy when you have a film, you go to film festivals, you know you're going to have a screening, but with a script, it's a little bit different. So what made you decide to go and try your chances doing this? Samantha?
So I have actually directed 2 films, short films, and I have gone through the festival circuit with those films. So I know that process pretty well now, and it's very fun. But I really love writing, and so I was like, I know that there are screenwriting contests and festivals for screenwriters. So why don't I just try it out and see what happens? Because I'm really proud of the script that I wrote, and I just want people to read it and tell me what they think and kind of grow as a writer. And I feel like this is a great way to do it. So I figured, why not?
Okay, perfect. Edward, what about you?
I think that's a great question because, when you submit, fully produced films to festivals, your odds of selection are much greater than when you're submitting screenplays. And it's difficult, I think, for screenwriters because, we operate so oftentimes in this kind of realm of the blueprint for something else as an unfinished thing. So I particularly look for film festivals that highlight screenwriting because I think it's one of the ways on a film's journey to getting created that allows you to get recognition and have people take notice of the scripts that you're working on. So because of institutions like this, we're able to kind of get our work out there in a way that we wouldn't be able to otherwise.
Agreed. Addison, would you share the same opinion?
I think so. I think I've actually got a slightly different perspective because I have completely filmed and edited Golden. It was actually my thesis film for my college degree. So it's a completed film, but I have also found that it's not always easy to get into film festivals as a finished film either. And I just really wanted people to read the story, and I wanted to highlight my film in a different way and actually showcase the script because I'm proud of the script as well. And I think the script is always going to be slightly different from the finished version. So it's nice to see that my words and my creation is highlighted in that way.
And you are here right now, so I guess the strategy worked because you are right. The script is what we imagine, and the movie is what we are able to accomplish in many ways. So judging a script as working on the other side in a film festival management and organization, judging a script is pretty, very different than watching a movie and see how it goes. We're going to go back to Phil. Do you hear me, Phil?
I hear you now.
Much better. I love it. And Warren, do you hear me?
Yes, I lost connection for a while. I'm sorry.
It happens. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back to the first presentation question. So Phil, give us a little bit of background about who you are and how you became a writer.
Let's see. I've been writing for about 4 years. I attended Arizona State University. I have a master's in liberal studies with emphasis in film analysis and migration, health, and cultural identity. As a retired military person, I got to see a lot around the world, and so it gave me an opportunity to kind of get a different perspective of different cultures. And so sometimes what I try to do is put that in my writing, and like everyone else does here, it looks like it is, look at that underrepresented group of people who are out there, somebody who really don't get an opportunity to tell the story, or and maybe they're the underdog. So that's what tell the story is about, is being an underdog. So
interesting. I like it. Warren, back to you. Same presentation question. Can you tell us a little bit about you?
Well, I'm currently living in Sydney, Australia, but I'm from England, and I was living in London at the time, and then I moved from London to Edinburgh with the intention of doing a master's degree in global health and public policy. I moved into Edinburgh in July. The master's wasn't due to start till September. So I fished around and saw what short courses I could do to keep myself occupied. And at Edinburgh University, we're running short courses in screenwriting and in writing poetry and fiction writing. So I signed up to all of those and thought, well, this is really interesting. I'm actually enjoying writing stories more so than my original intention. So I actually canned my plans to do a master's and decided to focus on writing stories full time. So that's how I got involved in screenwriting.
Okay, Phil. The follow-up question was, how do you use Film Freeway, and why did you decide to submit script to competitions like film festivals, and what do you expect of it?
Well, I think I started using Film Freeway about 3 years ago. This is Tell the Story is one of my most recent. I haven't done many shorts, so Tell the Story is kind of one of the ones I said, you know what, let me try this one out and see what happens. The majority of my experience has been in feature, and I've done very well in a competition. And I was like, well, you know what, I want to do something different. You kind of get stagnant doing something the same thing over and over again. So I like to do write in different genre, and I also like to I said, let me try my opportunity at a short story. So Film Freeway is giving me an opportunity to do this because I want to see what people really think about the story. Am I doing something? And am I able to stay with my peers and compete with them and stuff? And so far, it's just done very well, and I'm really happy with it.
Okay, Warren, what about you? I know you're no stranger to running festivals, to compete in festivals, because we've had the chance to meet already.
Yes.
Because of the festivals you've already been participating in, what do you take home as an experience as a scriptwriter? What can a film festival give you?
Well, I mean, as we all know, writing can be a lonely old game, and particularly if you're working on a long form piece of work, such as a feature script, for example. So I think the benefit for me of entering scripts to contests in film festivals is sort of to get some feedback, to test the water. If there's an idea that I'm not quite sure about, but there's enough substance to the story that then I might check the script out and get some feedback on it, and then I think it's really useful that the view that I get on the work, whether it's some critique of the character or some critique of the plot, because I might not get the structure quite sort of right. So to give you an example, I wrote my first non-linear feature script recently, and so I sent that out and got feedback from judges from various contests, and I wasn't quite sure whether I got the structure quite right, and the feedback has sort of clarified for me. Okay, I've got a couple of options that I can go with on this script now, and also it's good if you do well in a contest, because it gives you that shot in the arm, that confidence that actually, the script has got legs. I'm on the right track. This character is really interesting. I just need to sort of develop this one a bit more, and it's going to be a really solid story. So I think as a sort of staging post to refining and honing your work and making it better, that's the value I get.
Yeah, Madison, can you give us a pitch of your script? What is it about?
Well, it follows Katie, who is just about to graduate college, and her journey to finding out that not everything is secure and certain after graduation, and knowing that she's not alone, that her best friends are also feeling the same way. And they spend one last night together and dive into their feelings and how they're feeling about graduation and job markets and things like that, and realizing that they're not alone and that it's okay that things aren't certain.
Okay, interesting. Philip, what is your script about?
My script is about a former Marine who basically has an issue with kids during the break-in. They decide to do a home invasion, and he's at the point in his life where he's done letting people take advantage of him. And so now his name is Roller, and he's at a point in his life now where he's going to make them tell the story for him for the rest of their life.
Okay. Samantha, what about you?
So my script is about a couple, Sean and Jordan, and their friend Ashton, and it explores power in relation to love and just power dynamics within both platonic and romantic relationships. And it explores Sean's journey towards discovering their self-worth and independence.
Okay, thank you for that. Edward, what about you?
My film is about a kid named Louis who just wants to bake cookies, but his sort of tough as nails father has other plans until a South Texas miracle makes everyone rethink the meaning of love and acceptance. So it's really a film about dismantling traditional gender roles and coming together over differences.
Thank you. Warren, what's your story?
The Drowned Man is a sort of mystery thriller. But when an award-winning journalist is sent to investigate the apparent suicide of his doppelganger, he's haunted by a secret from his past.
My next question is something I'm really interested in knowing from you guys. So this is the short script panel. So you've all made short screenplays. It's kind of a tricky operation to go through because you have a very limited amount of pages. So do you approach it as you still structure it with a beginning, a middle, and an end, like 3 acts or 5 acts or the usual structure? Or do you see a short script as some sort of just one scene, like a landscape or like a Polaroid, just a glimpse in time? How do you see that, Samantha?
So I started writing the Alpha Complex based off of the final monologue from it. I started with the end, and then I built based on that. And I do think that there is a full story to the script, but I also, because it's a short script, I think that it is kind of like a Polaroid, a little glimpse into these people's lives, and that there is more of a story that it could tell, but I just want to give you this little taste. So.
Okay. Edward, how do you approach that? Like you would do with a feature script, but reduced in size, or would you have a different view?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, I think, normally if you ask people what structurally constitutes a feature film, they think of act structure and then scenes that move up that. But I think, what people fail to consider a lot of times is sequence structure between act and scene structure. So I look at basically short films as operating in the sequence structure realm, but we just resolve the central conflict of the film instead of hooking into a new conflict and launching the next sequence. But I think there's different kinds of writers, right? I'm a very architectural writer, so I most of my writing is the structural creation of the script. But other people do it completely differently, and they just begin writing and they're exploring character, and it's a different sort of organic process.
Madison, what's your take on that?
I see it as both, for sure. Like there's short films where you can completely dive in and tell a story from beginning to end. I do believe that. But then there are also stories where, kind of like Golden, I felt like I could definitely explore more into the stories. And I was kind of writing like I had these characters, I had these emotions and these beats and these points that I wanted to make. And I just had to decide how far into it I wanted to go. And I kind of wrote it as a precursor to possibly writing it into a feature-length film.
Okay, interesting. Warren?
Well, for sure, you don't have a lot of real estate in a short script. So I really focus on the story, and I think if it's a solid enough story, then I'll write the story, and then I'll look at the structure and see if I need to calibrate anything. So in terms of is the setup too long, things like that. But certainly I look at the story first and character. And then I think you can't be too complicated in a short script. But I think if it's a solid story and you've got a really interesting character, then that's the most important thing. But then I might recalibrate my first draft based on structure after that.
Okay, Philip, what about you? Do you see a short script like a glimpse into a very quick anecdote, a short story, or do you see it differently?
Kind of on the same lines as Madison. One of my favorite films is Pulp Fiction. And so one of the things I love about certain type of short stories is the ambiguity of the story. I want people to actually come up with their own idea of what they think happened before or what they think happened after or why this person's this way. I don't want to give them all the information. And like I said, Pulp Fiction is one of those films that actually gives you that opportunity. Even though it's a feature, you're asking yourself, what in the world happened before and after? Which is the reason why I'm writing a precursor to the original Pulp Fiction too. So the point is that I love, this particular story. This is the one where you're going to ask all these different questions, and you're going to go at the end and you're going to say, wow, this is why he did it. But everyone's going to have their own interpretation of it.
Yeah. Who's a filmmaker here? Who's a director or who's made films? Okay, 3, 4. Okay. How do you, when you write, do you give yourself some limitations because you kind of anticipate the possibility that this film is going to get produced, so you don't want to go into spaceships and big stuff that are going to be challenging into production? Or do you give yourself no boundaries at all because you just want to write the story you have in mind? Madison?
I think the first time I write a story, whether that's just scenes that I'm thinking of or characters or any sort of plot point, I do think I go beyond what is actually I'm capable of making. But then I kind of tone it back and think, okay, maybe I can't get this shot, or maybe I can't, be across the country right now where I want to film something. So it's a little bit of both.
Okay. Samantha?
Yeah, I write a lot. So I'll write, some scripts that are a little out there. I'm like, maybe this won't turn out, just because, again, like Madison said, you kind of have to reel in some of the ideas and adjust. But I try not to limit my brain and have a mindset of, oh, I can't do this, because I've created films as a filmmaker in the past where I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? And then I think about it and I, work with my resources and I find a solution. And I think that's the best part of this industry, is that we find solutions to wacky problems. And I think, if we can come up with these great ideas on paper, surely there's a way that we can put them on the screen. That being said, I do also write a lot of, things that are within my realm that I can, film right here, right now, because that's just the reality of the situation, especially right now with the pandemic. So true,
absolutely. Edward, what about you?
I think my answer is similar to everyone else's. I mean, I do both. It depends on the project. So if I'm intending to make something, then I definitely think about all those logistical concerns. But if I'm not, then I also want to be able to write things that are beyond the budgetary scope that I have to personally operate in.
Okay, Warren.
Well, I give my imagination free rein, and then I just write the story that I want to write, and then if necessary in subsequent drafts, I'll pull it back. I mean, it's different if I'm say commissioned to write a particular film, or it's a collaboration with other filmmakers, and we know what the limitations are. But filmmaking is the art of the possible. So you have to be willing to be flexible and tweak your story. But certainly in the first draft, I just give my imagination free rein, and I write whatever comes.
Yeah, Philip, what about you? So you didn't raise your hand. You're not a filmmaker, but do you give yourself any limitation, or you just go with your imagination, or with the story you want to tell?
For me, it's kind of interesting, because sometimes I'll start looking at writing a particular story, and then all of a sudden I end up going a whole different direction. with the story. And it's, a lot of times what happens is that when people, I get my story based on just conversations I'm having with someone. I mean, I'm sitting here one day and I'm talking to my wife and I'm saying, wouldn't it be crazy if I had this story and this guy does this and, you know, does all these crazy things that you would not expect him to do? And then she says, yeah. So she's starting to say, I'm starting to worry about you. I'm like, no, don't worry. I'm cool. Oh, all right. It's just, you know, I'm a retired military cop. And, you know, all the stories and things I've seen. So what happens is I love to actually come up with these ideas and say, you know what, this is what a crook is going to think about, or this is what this person is going to think about doing, because we have to, you know, law enforcement guy have to be a little bit ahead of them. So things like that.
Yeah, makes total sense. Would you have, guys, any question you would like to ask to your fellow scriptwriters right here? Maybe compare your process or just get some test IDs. I don't know. Anything you would like to take from the situation? Who wants to go with it?
Go for it.
Edward, go for it.
Okay. I'm just curious how people balance their livelihood with their creative aspirations. I'm always interested in how people, what kind of, concessions people make regarding that.
Okay. Who wants to reply to that? Samantha, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh man, that's the constant challenge of being an artist. For me personally, I own my own production company. And so I've been trying to grow towards just having that be my sole income. But even with that, I still have a lot of concessions I have to make. And, I think there are the financial things that we have to worry about. And then there are the creative limitations. And it can get really frustrating. But I think for me, when I sit down and I have some time to myself and I can just write, I always just feel so amazing. And then everything just feels worth it again. But it's a constant struggle, you know?
It is. Who wants to respond to the same question from Edward?
I'll respond.
Okay.
As far as, okay. It takes a while for me. I'm a disabled vet, so it takes me some time to actually write a little bit more. And even though I've written a lot of screenplays, and I average about 4 to 5 scripts a year. All right, and that's just that we're talking about more like features. But the thing is that for me to do that, I'll write here a little bit, then I'll write a little bit there. So I don't have children around, doing any of that stuff. But it's just me. Sometimes I have to jump from one project to another because my brain doesn't allow me to focus constantly on one, particular project.
Warren, you wanted to respond?
Yeah, discipline and sacrifice. I'd say, you've got to be disciplined. You've got to fight procrastination. You've got to find a sacred time to write, and you write no matter what. And you have to make sacrifices. You have to give up doing other things that would take away your writing time. So yeah.
Yeah. Edward, how would you respond to your own question? Because I guess if you ask the question, it's because you've been facing maybe challenges or you are looking for the solution for it. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's so. I mean, when I first started working in film, I had a series of just the worst jobs that I've had, but I learned a lot from them. So, working in bars and installing irrigation and on and on and on. Now I'm lucky enough to be in an academic setting. So, a large percentage of my job is creating content basically, and then teaching workshop classes with students. So at this point in my life, it's a lot easier, but that was something that I really had to contend with for, so long. And I'm really interested in it too, because as we put students out there into the world, it's so important that they be able to broker those degrees into creative fulfillment and financial security. So I just think about it a lot, and I'm always curious how people are kind of juggling those two things.
Yeah, I understand that. Any other question you would like to ask your fellow filmmakers? Don't be shy. It's just the 5 of us. what would you want to know from somebody else's perspective regarding to script writing or regarding to filmmaking in general? It's not that easy to ask questions.
I've got a question.
Go for it.
How do you maintain your motivation, and particularly if you're juggling several ideas, and how do you maintain your motivation, and how do you choose which idea to run with and which ones to park either permanently or for a later date?
Madison, I saw you reacting since the very beginning of that question, so you're gonna be the first answering.
Well, that's actually something that I have been struggling with since, well, obviously since the pandemic started. Being in a college program, I was able to constantly be told I have to create and that I have to keep going and I have to table things or I have to keep going with other things. So since that ended, it's been a struggle to try and find that same sort of regimen and motivation. And I've just been having to keep putting my work out there, keep doing things like this, and keep connecting with people and reminding myself that there are other ways to create that aren't necessarily the ways that I created in college. Like TikTok is a huge thing. And I know that there are filmmakers actually making TikTok series.
Yep.
Yes. So there's so many possibilities and just reminding myself of that.
Yeah, it's to keep an open mind at all times so you can keep growing yourself and what you want to create. Samantha, do you want to answer the same question? How do you maintain motivation? And Warren mentioned even when you have multiple scripts or projects at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of going off of what Madison said, because I really connected with that. I think the pandemic has definitely shown a brand new challenge that we're all trying to navigate with motivation, because for me personally, I get a lot of my stories based off of people watching or conversations I've had and the essences of people that I've encountered. And so when you're not seeing people, that can cause a lack of motivation, because it's like, okay, well, what do I write? But at the same time, for me, I have learned to take that challenge and use it. And so just reflecting even more on like my previous interactions with people and like really like searching my imagination. And so for me now, I have like 7 projects right now that I'm working on.
Wow.
So the juggling right now is intense, and I'm trying to figure that out. But I take a couple hours every day and I sit down and I just focus on one project. I have a calendar on my wall and I plan out which days I'm going to work on which projects. And it kind of helps me to be organized, to kind of have that foundation so that I like keep myself on track, because I want to do all the projects at once.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to give one up, but it can be challenging. So
yeah, it's to organize yourself and the job you have to do, and giving yourself 2 hours every day to do one project, and then this other one, and then this other one. This reminds me of making a film. When you have all this schedule, you have to stick to, because the rest of the crew depends on you. And Madison, you mentioned TikTok. We do have actually for the festival, for the Paris Art and Movie Awards and the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards, we had to come up with a sheet that we share with every team member, so we can all keep track of what kind of videos we put on TikTok and on Facebook and everywhere. It's you have to adjust and to adapt all the time. It's challenging, but it keeps the spice in the everyday and what you want to achieve. Philip, do you have any question you would like? Are you with us first, Philip? Is still searching for the best angle, looks like. Do you have, guys, any other question you would like to ask before we wrap? Philip is trying to communicate with us. Samantha,
I'm here.
Here, but
Philip,
I'm losing battery.
okay, so let's go with Philip, and in case he loses battery. Do you have a question you want to ask to your fellow writers?
No, not yet. I'm going to try to log on a different way, but I'm sorry that I'm having problems with
Okay,
this.
I'm good with that. Samantha, go for your question. Thank you for waiting.
This might be a bit of a challenging question because it is for me, but what pieces of art or which artists kind of inspire you the most as a screenwriter?
Okay. Edward?
I have a quick answer to that. Alan Lomax, the ethnomusicologist, is a huge influence for me. The painter Ricardo Ruiz, and Horton Foote, the writer of Tender Mercies. I'll leave it at that. There's more.
Okay. Madison, do you have any reference, any artists that influence you?
I do. I feel like I love music inspires me the most, I think. And that can range from everybody from SZA to Paramore, because I just love music. And also artists like Monet. That was part of the inspiration behind Golden, actually, was that I wanted to create something that was super messy up close, but far away, it makes complete sense. So I like stories like that.
Okay. Warren?
Oh, I mean, that's such a tough question. Pin down an artist. I mean, it's difficult. I like the films of Danny Boyle, but I'm more interested in sort of genres. I seem to write a lot of dark comedy, black comedy. I read a lot. Read a lot of magic realism and other stuff. I mean, I like the paintings of Matt Rothko. Whether that has any influence on my writing, I'm not really sure. But yeah, I read a lot of poetry. I like poetry. So yeah, there's all sorts of influences that maybe sort of subconsciously I pick and filter through, and I'm sure some of it comes out of my writing, but consciously I can't say that. Yeah, I'm inspired by this particular artist.
It's a make of influence. Samantha, what would be your influence or yours, the ones that you would like to mention?
Yeah, I think everybody's answers, like I have a little bit in every single person's answer, but like music for me, like Madison is a really big thing. I'm a classically trained musician, so that's always been a part of my inspiration, and I always listen to music when I write. But I really aspire to create the just beautiful visuals that Luca Guadagnino has in his work. And I'm also a really big fan of poetry and Spanish literature. So I think I get a lot of my imagery from reading.
Okay. Anything again you would like to add regarding your own script, the script you wrote, to anything you would like to communicate to the viewers and the audience of the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards? Anything else you would like to say to promote yourself? This is your chance. Edward, you want to go with it?
I just wanted to say how appreciative I am, I'm sure everyone else is, to institutions like these that allow us to get our work out there, because it really is kind of the pipeline for voices that don't go through the traditional industry system. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm sure everyone else is too.
And it is important because we've been experiencing situations with the Paris Festival or with the Hollywood festivals, with the networking or with the connections people make on the red carpet or outside the venue. For example, people make connections, and sometimes scriptwriters find producers or find people they want to collaborate with in one way or another. And I really appreciate what you just said, because I've been there, and it's such a joy when you see this connection happen, and a year later or a couple of years later, you see a movie that came from two people that met on the festival you manage. That's just amazing. Do we have anybody who would like to add anything to this panel? Samantha.
Yeah, just kind of going off of that. So I have my own production company, Finterest Films, and we had our own film festival last month. And it was an international virtual festival. And just what you said, like seeing people make these connections and collaborate and getting to showcase people's art, especially right now when things are a little bit uncertain and challenging. I think it's just really beautiful to see. And as somebody who gets to participate in something like this, I'm just very grateful. Like Edward said, it's just, I'm really appreciative of this experience. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Are we good? I think we are. It's been a pleasure. Philip is trying to connect back with us, but he's I don't have no image for him, so we're gonna leave it there for this time. But he's been participating with us, and that's what matters. Thank you so much for taking the time to discuss your script and your project, and to share with the festival how you create the script, which sometimes we need to remind people that everything starts with a script. Without the script, you're going to be improvising a movie. And if you improvise a movie, the result is not guaranteed. So let's say the script is essential. And I'm very happy to have the chance to moderate these kind of panels with people like you who are creative. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you again soon. And thank you so much for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.